Hey everybody, Miss Dietrich here. We're learning how to write percents as fractions and decimals. This is lesson 5.2. All right, let's start out with a couple reminders. Whenever we talk about percent, that symbol means that you're taking the stuff in front of it and you're dividing it by 100. So what does that look like as a fraction? You take the stuff that's in front of the percent sign and you divide it by 100. So that means that value over 100. Now, if we think what dividing by 100 really means, that really means if you're actually going to do the computation of 37 divided by 100, you would get 37 hundredths. How would you get that? By simply moving the decimal of where 37 is at the end of the 7, we would move it 2 to the left. So let's take a look at this value right here, 50%. If we wanted that as a decimal, where's the decimal right now in that value? It's right here. And if we were going to divide this by 100, which recalls moving it 2 to the left, 1, 2 to the left, now the decimal would be here. So that means that the decimal equivalent of that would be either 5/10ths or, if you prefer, 50 hundredths. Let's look at this value right here. If we wanted to make that a decimal, there's a secret decimal right here. We would move it 2 to the left. This really means 10 divided by 100. 10 divided by 100. Now the decimal's there. This becomes 1/10, or if you prefer, 10 hundredths. Let's skip down to ones like this. Here's where the decimal is right now. If we were to divide this by 100, which is what percent means, we would move the decimal from this position 2 to the left, and we would get 375 thousandths. This decimal, make it a little more conspicuous, is equal to the percent. So these are all equal to each other. Now there's a couple that I skipped because I think you get the idea that if to change a percent to a decimal, you're going to move the decimal 2 to the left. Now, what if you have to go from a decimal to a percent? Well, doesn't it make sense that you would do the opposite? You would move it 2 to the right, 2 to the right. So this is a decimal, and if we're going to make it a percent, then we're really multiplying it by 100. If I multiply this by 100, we're going to move it 2 to the right, and then just add a percent sign. Now, that makes a lot of sense, because if you think about what 25% means, it means out of 100. So this is out of 100, so let's write it as a fraction. And then we'll talk about how we might reduce it. And just the idea of having the 5 in the hundredths place. You know, these two things are obviously equivalent. Now, if we were to simplify this, we would divide both of these by 25. This divided by 25 would be 1, and this divided by 25 would be 4. All right, so let's just take a look at a couple more of these. The idea of changing a decimal to a percent. Remember, decimal to a percent, we're going to go 2 to the right. So if we go 2 to the right, remember that's going this way, 2 to the right, we would go 1, 2 to the right. So that would be 20%. 20%. And that makes sense, right? 20%, that means 20 out of 100, or 20 out of 100. Now if I was going to simplify this, it would equal 1/5, because 20 is a factor of both the numerator and the denominator. All right, now my recommendation, if you ever get ones, and let's see if I can find a couple here that are like that. Let's actually skip that and come back, because I want to talk about what if you get something like this right here, and the directions are to write the percent as a fraction or a mixed number. So this is a percent, and I think it's a good idea to first think of it as a decimal. Now, if we were to convert this to a decimal, we would move it 2 to the left. So if I was to move this 2 to the left, it would go 1, 2 to the left, and we have to visualize there that we need to put a 0 there. So I'm just going to put what that's equal to. It's equal to this value as a decimal. Now, they want it as a fraction. How would you say this? You would say this as 1, and then this is tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So it's 1/1000th. Now, anytime you do these and you have to simplify it, of course you would simplify it. But my recommendation, anytime you get this type of question where it's a decimal percent, first turn it into a decimal. So this one, for example, let me just write a little bit bigger for you. The decimal's here, so we would go 1, 2 to the left to turn it into a decimal. And now we'd ask ourselves, how do we say that? We say that it's 25, and this is tenths, hundredths, thousandths. And now just simplify that. All right, look for video number 2, because we're out of time.